Welcome to the Monday Monologue. And I know what some of y'all are thinking, that, oh my God, you lost your mind. And yeah, I have. I was listening to my tape deck the other night, and guys, that analog tape sounds so good. And I know that right now there's not many sources to get pre-recorded tapes, except for really old ones that are those 4-track tapes. But the other source of music is there are some 2-track, like broadcast type tapes out there on the market. And, you know, these master tapes, and I've talked about that before, I think there's a lot of fake ones out there where people are just recording a CD on a 2-track deck and selling them as master tapes with fake writing and stuff on them. There are some that are like broadcast type demo tapes that were sent to radio stations. And most of those were done as half-track tapes. What that means is the normal kind of consumer reel-to-reel is a 4-track stereo. It's got 2 channels, 4 tracks. You play the tape one direction, you flip the tape over, you play the other side. Most of them are like the 7-inch reels to make the deck smaller, and they do sound really nice. They run at 3 3/4 and 7.5 IPS, or inches per second. So what these are, they're called a half-track deck, and the tape just runs in one direction, and then you rewind it. It uses more of the tape width for the 2 channels. It doesn't use quite half, because it does leave a gap between them, so there's more or greater signal separation between the 2 channels, but you get a whole lot more, signal burned onto the tape because you're using up a wider path, and the heads have a wider pickup on them, so that should sound better. And these run at either 7.5 or 15 IPS. And the faster the tape runs through the deck, the better it's going to sound, the better the high frequency response. You get higher signal to noise ratio, so then hiss becomes just a non-issue. And honestly, I feel like at 7.5 IPS, there's no hiss. The hiss we remember was from cassette tapes. And yeah, when you start running the tape faster through the deck, you're not going to hear that. So anyway, this isn't what the video is going to be about, but it was sitting here on the bench from another video recording. It's like, hey, we'll just leave it on here. It looks kind of cool, right? What I want to talk about today is setting up your listening space. And I watched a really good video the other day from another YouTuber. He was talking about how you need to set up your listening space in an area that you're comfortable being in. And I think people criticize, the setup where I have my stereo, is it not being ideal? And I know it's not. It's not like a sonically, perfect space where you have one chair sitting in the middle of 2 speakers 4 feet from the wall, retreating on the walls and ceiling and everything, and you're like sitting in a spot to listen. And to me, that's not comfortable. What's comfortable to me is laying down on my couch. It's where I've got like a couch kind of up against the wall, and I've got a TV at my feet. It's not a giant one, just kind of it's like a 24-inch flat screen. And I have TV set up on that. It's where I lay and watch TV at night when I'm going to watch, some shows, or just relax in the afternoon, watch a little golf or something. And it's also the same place that I like to listen. And to me, it's a comfortable, relaxing, familiar place that I've always enjoyed. And so I've really worked hard to make the stereo system, or your hi-fi system, work in that space and sound good in a spot that I really enjoy relaxing in my house. And I'm sure all of y'all know where that space is in your house. You've got a spot You got a place, a room that you just enjoy being in, makes you feel comfortable, and learn how to make your sound system work in that space. Is it going to be perfect? No. But you're going to get the most enjoyment from being in a space that you're comfortable in, because there's a lot of emotional engagement with the music, and it has to be more than just what it sounds like to really enjoy it. And I don't think enough emphasis is put on that. I think too many people, and I know there's a lot of engineering type folks that are into this, audio high-end stuff, or, audiophile type space, and they can't do that. They're just like, it's not, the sound is more important, But for me, it's the whole thing, it's the whole experience. And so, really, if you're going to set up a space, make sure it's really in a comfortable space that you enjoy. I know I can just talk in circles about that. I think I've kind of made my point, but it might take some weird speakers, and it might take some tuning on your setup to really get it where it sounds good in that space. And so there's probably no cookie cutter approach that's going to work. Anyway, that was kind of the thing that I wanted to get across today. And the other thing, I know you've probably seen, I've been doing just a bunch of almost daily review videos, because I've kind of gotten a backlog of stuff that people have sent me to review or listen to or feature on the channel. It's like, here, do you want to look at this? Do you want that? And I've been just saying, yeah, sure, send it. Yeah, sure, send it. And the stuff's been just piling up. And so I want to get all of this stuff knocked out. I'm almost done with these reviews. I got another pair of speakers, and then I've also got some op amps I need to review, and I want to make sure I do justice to both of those, and with the speakers, because these speakers don't really work well in my space either, but I want to try them in a different space in my house, and maybe with a different amplifier too, and try to find the use case that really works for that. I've also had a commenter or two that was like, I wish you'd take the speakers apart and show us what the drivers look like, and I think we're getting ripped off, and I'm not taking speakers apart. I mean, these people were nice enough to lend me these speakers to review, and I'm very careful with them to make sure I don't scratch them or dent them or, do anything to them that would make them where they couldn't be resold. And so I think it's important that I honor their trust. If I get in there with a screwdriver and whatever, and a screwdriver slips and I put a gouge in the front of them, I just bought a $1,500 pair of speakers that don't work for me. And yeah, I'm not one of these channels that has 300K views and I'm making, $20,000 a month off of YouTube to be able to afford to risk that. So that's not happening. And another comment or two was about, I wish you would review more tube amps. Well, I can only review what people send me. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm so brutally honest with reviewing stuff and they know that I can measure tube gear and I know what it's supposed to do, that they don't want their stuff reviewed, but nobody's sending me tube amps to review. And so that's just part of it too. I can't afford to go out and buy $3,000 tube amps to review for the channel, and then what do I do with them? And even the R8 that I was given by Wilsonton, and I did the mods on it and everything, and it's like I spent hundreds of dollars on that amp, upgrading it, plus hours and hours of time, and I was going to flip it and just, hey, you guys are wanting me to modify your R8s. Here's one that's already modded, ready to go. Make me an offer. And people are offering me well, I'll make an offer of $600 or $800. It's like, that's half of what a new one costs, and this thing's got hundreds of dollars put in it. That's just crazy. I don't know what people are thinking that a modified amp with upgraded tubes and everything is going to be worth half of what one off Amazon that needs a bunch of work done to it would be. That makes zero sense. So now that I'm going to be putting the ISO Tango transformers on it, I'm just keeping it. I'm not interested in selling that. I may be looking at selling like some of this kind of stuff. Once I get done reviewing all these things, I don't really have a use for these little chip amps. And we may be doing a yard sale soon on a bunch of that stuff. And so stay tuned for that. And we are going to be doing more reel-to-reel content. I've really gotten into that. And that gets back to what I keep saying, that I think the source is as important, if not more important, than the room. I mean, if you've got a garbage or mediocre source, it's just you're never going to be able to make it sound good because you've already taken so much off the table. There's nothing left but some peanut butter and toast. So this is something I'm really getting kind of hooked on, and that's something I think maybe coming back is reel-to-reel tape, especially on the high-end market. And you have to excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, kind of sniffly, but I've seen quite a few videos lately about people raving about these, half-track decks running at 15 IPS, which is like what this deck is. And there's people out there taking master tapes or getting master tapes and making limited edition runs of like 15 IPS half-track, quarter-inch tape recordings or, copies of a master tape for sale. And everything I've heard people say about them is they sound just unfreaking believable. But they're also crazy expensive. I mean, the ones I've seen are like a minimum of $500, and a lot of them are up to $1,000 a copy. That's obviously for the super high-end folks, but my hope is that that market picks up and there becomes a supply and demand thing where it shifts the other way and the demand gets higher, but the supply also gets higher and more people start doing that and they start releasing stuff again, especially when they do these remasters and they got Kevin Gray in there remixing all this stuff. They start releasing this stuff on tape again. And it's going to take a big enough market to make it worthwhile. But if I'm going to spend, $75 on some really nice, vinyl remastering of a album that I love, I'd pay $100 or $150 for a reel-to-reel tape of it that was like next level as far as an analog source. So hopefully the market heads in that direction. I guess the only problem is going to be that these machines are so much more complicated than a turntable is. It's going to be tough for people to make consumer versions of these for playback. And I don't know if there's much of a market for like a playback only deck that has just like, no erase head. It's just got a play head and, output volume, and that's it. And it plays, pre-recorded half-track tapes. But there may be a market for that if the high-end audio really picks up on how good tape sounds again. So, anyway, I think that's going to kind of wrap up the Monday monologue. Kind of a little vision into the future. Oh, and I did decide that on those Acrosound transformers, those TO300s, I was going to do a Williamson design push-pull amp with them. I've decided to use the other version that's in their catalog that is not the Williamson, because I'm going to also restore some Heathkit W3s, and those have the same transformers that's a Williamson. So we'll be able to, compare the Williamson versus the non-Williamson. That's the, God, I have to look up what the name of that kind of amp's called. Hey, Siths, I need to learn more about push-pull. I don't even know what to call that other design. So, anyway, thanks again for watching the channel. Hope you're enjoying my Monday monologue. We didn't go into too much of a rant today, but hey, some weeks are better than others, right? Nobody really got under my skin this week. And thanks to all you Patreon supporters and also you folks that regularly watch the channel. I really appreciate you. And I know sometimes I get kind of, I don't know, agitated in the comments. And I hope, me replying doesn't upset people. But I feel like interacting in the comments is one of the things kind of unique about this channel. So, I heard loud and clear from you guys on last week's monologue. Don't change anything. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Just be yourself. I'm being me. You be you. And until next week, I'll see you for the next Monday monologue.